Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us here on the Clark Howard Show, where our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And before you start your weekend, I want to remind you that we have a wonderful, growing group of Clarkies asking questions and helping each other at clark.com/community. All helping each other, learning from each other. So I'm so proud of that, how we give you the ability in so many ways to empower yourself. But what am I not proud of? My mess ups that don't do the job of empowering you. I get to hear from you on where I've gotten it wrong in today's edition of Clark Stinks. Later, something I don't want you to get wrong is your lifestyle when you retire. And what am I meaning about that? This is weird, maybe for you to hear, when you think about how people daydream about the day they don't have to say, I owe, so off to work I go. And your time now becomes your time. No more having to go off to work. What's crazy is so many people become depressed when they retire. Why does that happen? What's the way for you to prevent it, to eliminate that from being part of this next phase of your life? I'm going to share that with you. But right now, it is time for Clark Stinks.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
You must think I'm pretty stupid.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're right, pal.
See, for those of you who don't watch the YouTube show, you miss Christa's Friday dance.
Yeah.
Because you love to dance.
I do love to dance.
And you hear the Clark Stinks theme, and you immediately break into dance.
It's fun. Okay.
Do you know when I dance? Never.
All right. We'll start with this. I love the show. Unfortunately, I can't help but detect a malodorous cloud of inefficiency and silliness whenever you talk about your Costco shopping habits. You love to tell the audience how you first walked through the warehouse without a cart, returning for a cart only if there are large items that you cannot carry in your arms. There is a much simpler solution to overspending at warehouse clubs. Always shop from a list. Before you go to the warehouse, make a list of items that your household truly needs. Get your cart at the front of the store like a normal person and only put the items from your list in your cart. You will spend less, save more, and best of all, avoid building a reputation as an oddball with your local Costco employees. Zach.
So, point well made. So, this is a difference between Sam's and Costco. You know, Sam's is about buying what you need. Costco, so much of it is the treasure hunt. So there are things that I'll see there that it's like, oh man, I love that. And so I'll buy something that's not a need. It's like an emotional want. And so if I have a shopping cart, think about the warehouse club carts. They are twice the size of a normal shopping cart. I mean, they're gigantic because people just keep throwing things in them because, well, they're such a deal and I got to buy it. So for me, it provides the discipline I don't have myself if I have the shopping cart. So I understand the inefficiency, Zach, and you're right. If it was just about buying stuff, I would not be going to Costco, wandering through the steel, going aisle by aisle, and looking to see what they have. But it is my weak spot, is looking for the fun stuff that are deals, and I would overbuy that I don't overbuy by carrying things around in my arms.
Clark, you don't stink, but as an IT professional, I would like to educate you with the basics of various multi-factor authentication methods. Using your email or phone to get your MFA code is better than nothing, but both of these are insecure in terms of tech because the code is sent in clear text and unencrypted. The better method of MFA is via apps like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, etc. These methods generate a time-based token that changes every 30 seconds. Some password managers, like KeepPass, will even generate the token for you if you don't trust Google or Microsoft. Jason.
Jason, thank you. Okay, so Jason, I am in the middle of trying to adopt more and more the Google Authenticator. Have you tried it?
Mm-mm.
I get so confused using it. And there are times it's like it works great for me, and there are other times I'm like scratching my head. And I know it shouldn't be that hard, but I am a techno idiot. But you are right that the authenticators are, and I've heard this from the tech consultant I work with when I do security stories on television, how much better it is that you use one of the authenticators than traditional accepted two-factor authentication of a text or an email. And so I'm going to keep working at it till I'm really comfortable and it becomes automatic for me to use the Google Authenticator. And you ought to try it too, Christa.
Okay.
Because then you can teach me, because you'll start using it, you'll be, Clark, I don't know why you thought this was hard. This is so easy.
This is a counter Clark Stinks. I feel that Clark Stinks is getting watered down with complaints that matter more to people's personal beliefs rather than true personal finance complaints. What is up with all the petty complaints on Clark? People complain about Clark watching NFL football, congratulating people on marriage, using the word car over automobile. What is up with all you people? The complaint about Clark congratulating a couple on getting married was the last straw for me. Get a grip, people. Let's stick to legitimate Clark Stinks so that way we can all learn more tips on personal finance and financial freedom. From a disgruntled Clark Stinks listener.
Well, all I'll tell you is that I have this tendency of straying from the topic. And, I know there are people who would prefer that I just go, boom, straight to whatever it is. But people have lives and there are layers to it. And I don't want to be a robot just responding. So, well, what I would do is take this money and do blah, blah, blah. I think that personal finance is much more absorbed when it's humanized.
Right. I think they're really complaining about the posters who complain about things that they feel like are personal and not about your financial advice.
No, but it's what's bugging them.
Point well taken, yeah. Clark's, I'm almost upset enough to say Mr. Howard's, recent comments about accessory dwelling units or ADUs stink. I live in California where they have virtually thrown out all the zoning regulations that made for a pleasant suburban neighborhoods. These regulations that made these small residences, these rules were put in place for a reason. As more people build these small residences in their backyards, it's creating traffic congestion, crowded streets, lack of parking, and an all-around denser living environment. And what about water, sewers, and electricity for these added residents, not to mention higher property taxes? If they're for a relative, fine, but I don't understand why anyone would want strangers living in their backyard. These are not a good idea. I was sorry to hear Clark come out in support of them. Tom.
Tom, thank you. So I hear your points. So the reason ADUs are so important to me and why I'm such a fan of them is really for a couple of reasons that are all about money. We have an extreme shortage right now for housing in the United States. And we also have people who, when they buy a home, they are wheezing trying to pay that mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and all that. ADUs solve two problems. The land is already there. You build a small additional dwelling or an apartment over a garage or whatever. You're creating additional housing to make rental housing more affordable or to provide a place for grandma or whatever at your house. And it's also helping people defray the cost of these very high mortgages that they're carrying. So I know everything has something that is a consequence, even unintended. And you brought up several of them. But I think that ADUs are a reasonable solution.
Okay, a couple about this topic. Maybe it's a stink from too much aftershave, but there's definitely an odor, but not terribly unpleasant. Clark, USB data blockers definitely work and are specifically designed to keep data from flowing to or from your device. I've used them many times to prevent juice jacking, but also to keep my car from picking up the data from my phone so I can charge it while still connecting to the car via Bluetooth rather than USB. I've given them as gifts, and the right ones work perfectly. And Micah, that's from Micah. Michael linked to the ones that he buys. And then this one, I wanted to tell you how the little red USB data blocker works. The internal connection only lets the DC power through to charge your phone. The data connection wires are blocked, so data cannot be loaded or downloaded. Mike.
Okay, so Mike and Micah both, this is exactly what Clark Stinks is about. Because I've talked about the problem, and that is just plugging in your charger into a USB, because you never know if they're going to go through that and steal your data. You both gave perfectly reasonable, low-cost solutions to be able to use public charging and keep your devices safe. And I appreciate both of you for doing that very much.
And these are so cheap. I got 3 for like $8. So they're very, very inexpensive. I'll give you one, Clark. Your birthday's coming up.
That's right.
Okay.
But that would be a $3 birthday gift almost.
I know, it's not enough. You want me to spend a lot more. Add 2 zeros to it.
That's too expensive.
No, I'll spend more. Don't worry.
You don't need to.
On a recent podcast, a listener was using her debit card 15 times a month to reap the rewards of a higher interest rate on her checking account. You neglected to point out that there is no protection from the bank if the account is hacked. But since she is using the card only in her local grocery store, you stink a little less. I've also discovered lately the downside of overdraft protection from a mega bank. When an account does not have sufficient funds, a transfer can automatically be initiated from the linked account. So a hacker can potentially drain both accounts. I've since unlinked all my accounts and currently have no overdraft protection. Andy,
let me deal with the second thing first. You were so right. The banks have been the biggest liars out there, conning people into signing up for their garbage overdraft protection. Do not fall for it. If you have it, shut it off. This is a giant profit center for the banks. Generally, believe it or not, you're better off even having the consequences of a bounce check than having in place the stinking, rotten, terrible overdraft protection from the banks. Now, to your first point, what I say about something like these checking accounts that pay the 5% interest is you weigh the certainty that you're going to have 5% interest versus the possibility that someone will compromise your debit card and attack the balance in your account. It is a weighing, and as long as you are aware of the risk involved with using a piece of trash, fake Visa or fake MasterCard, also known as a debit card, and you're getting the benefit, the certainty of that 5%, and you understand that risk, go for it.
regarding your recent advice about an AI scam to a mom over the phone that their child is in danger, we need to mention that the best way to protect your children online is to not post any public photos and videos of them on social media or even mention their names. This is important for both your child's safety and privacy. Criminals can now scour your online videos or photos to feed AI and create fake voice recordings and images, or kidnappers can glean enough private info about your child that makes them vulnerable. Consider your child's privacy, too. Your child cannot consent to how you are using their images and videos. All of us who came up before the internet do not have any embarrassing baby photos or childhood photos online and probably wouldn't consent to it. I'm glad there are other things that aren't online, too. You can share your private family moments without private online groups and email instead of public social media. Tim.
Within,
yeah.
Yeah, because this is the suggestion we had before, is that if you are going to share a lot of personal stuff, that you do so privately only on social media, because you share publicly, criminals are just sitting there waiting for the opportunity for so many things they may do that will cause a lot of problems. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to post on Clark Stinks. Oh, you got more?
There was one more.
Oh, the way you looked at me, I thought,
No,
so
I'm
I
sorry.
do stink. I jumped the gun.
All right, let's just get this last one in real quick.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hi, Super Clark. I just heard on Clark Stinks someone asking you to speed up the way you speak. Pretty please do not do it. To some of us, where English is the second language, your speak speed is on the money. Your voice is very soothing, which makes me, I can't talk for the other immigrants out there, understand what you're talking about, and most importantly, what you're talking about, since those topics do not come in a book when you move to this country. Thanks for everything you share with us, all your time dedicated to teaching us, to inspire us, also to remind me the American dream is possible, even with so many distractions along the way. You're Clarky Christiani.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate that perspective. And remember, for those of you who prefer to listen to me at a faster speed with a podcast, that's so easy. Just dial it up to the speed that makes you comfortable. Just don't run me all the way up to the speed of Alvin and the Chipmunks. Don't recommend that. But thank you for your post, and thank you all for your posts. And remember, we're all in this together, and if there's a way you feel that I can serve you better, take the time to post. You feel I'm just flat out wrong, take the time to post at clark.com/ClarkStinks. And coming up ahead, dreaming of retirement, how do you make sure the dream really reaches the joy that you're hoping for? We're going to talk about that. So Americans still tend to retire sometime in their early 60s. And it's something that people have daydreamed about for years. And somebody will say, what are you looking forward to? And they'll just smile, and they're so full of anticipation and excitement. And then there's this thing where when they actually are retired, the smile is turned upside down into a frown a lot of times. Because they get into retirement and they're like, they don't know what to do with themselves. And this is hard. I've been seeing a number of stories, like, I don't know why they've been popping up recently. Maybe it's because of all the media coverage about the financial shortage for Social Security system. But there was something else recently about how difficult it is navigating when in a couple, one's retired and the other's still working. And how do you handle that? How do you handle that dynamic? But the one that I want to concentrate on now is this thing of, what do you do with yourself? And I've known a lot of people who, in retirement, they just seemed really melancholy. And they seemed sluggish and all that. And the key is to have things that you will enjoy doing in retirement, where something that was something you enjoyed doing, whether it is building stuff and woodworking or doing whatever the activities are, that they're things that you really can't wait to have more time to do them. If you don't have what you may have heard him on our podcast, Wes Moss, and the research he's done, he calls them core pursuits. You have to have things that make a big difference in your life, having things that you really, really enjoy. He found that the average person who is really happy as a retiree has, on average, 3.5 core pursuits, meaning three, somebody with the 3 and someone with the 4, 3.5. People who have less than 2 things that they're really excited about doing end up very unhappy, kind of lost in retirement, and don't know what to do with themselves. So it's really important that you have things that really, really matter to you. Maybe there's something you really enjoy. You know, I mentioned last week that I had just started a habitat build in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's my 12th year volunteering there and sponsoring there. And I partner with a group called the Tuesday Morning Miracle Workers. And these are retirees who love doing this kind of stuff. They build cabinets. They do all kinds of things for the Habitat for Humanity chapter in Tulsa. And they love being there. And they're usually at Habitat on Tuesdays and Fridays, working in the warehouse on Tuesdays, at a build site on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I say Fridays. Tuesdays and Saturdays. Saturdays are on the build site, Tuesday in the warehouse. And these people have so much joy being there. That's a perfect example of a core pursuit. And people who think they're going to be able to just have endless joy by playing golf all the time, there's maybe 1 out of 10,000 people who think that just playing golf 5 days a week is going to make it happen for them. I met one of those people when I was out walking the other day who plays golf 5 times a week and just seems so joyous being retired. But normally that's not going to do it. It's going to be different things that you really, really get joy from. Being with other people doing them. Some people do fine in isolation. They're happy working in their, doing their hobby they always wanted to spend 20 hours a week on, and they were happy if they could get 2 when they were working. Now they can do 20. If you don't have that kind of thing going into retirement, you need it. You need to have something you can pursue. I have a friend who retired the first time when he was 45. And he has gone back to work 3 different times because he couldn't figure out what to do with this time. And so work became the thing that was a substitute for these core pursuits. But I'm telling you, before you quit whatever you're doing and retire, you need to think through, what are you going to do with your time? Are you going to volunteer at the church or religious congregation twice a week, 3 times a week? Is that a place that brings you real joy? What is it? You need to have whatever those routines are that can make a real difference to you. Christa, if I bagged work someday, what do you think I'd do with my time?
Oh, I think you'd keep yourself busy. You're always volunteering. You're always doing so much stuff. Like, I can't believe you do everything you do, honestly.
Well, I mean, I could say the same about you. You're busier than I am. But, I mean, you're not worried about me.
I'm not worried about you.
Okay, well.
But, I'm not asking you to retire anytime soon.
I'm leaving. Oh, I thought you were. I was going to pull off my headset and just right into the sunset. Nope, not happening.
Well, it's up to you. You certainly have earned the right. All right, we'll go to questions now. John in Indiana says, the paint is peeling around my 2017 Ford Escape windshield area, and I'm not the only one. The most common color I've seen is the blue color. Ford says it's not a Ford problem. However, if you Google this, you will see there are more than just a few of the same problem. Can you help?
Have you had a chance to look, or people complaining about this?
Yeah, I looked at the NHTSA.gov website, and that had complaints in there. There isn't a specific paint category, but people put it under like miscellaneous. And then if you can see people all over message boards on the web and in forums for this car complaining about the same problem and posting pictures.
All right, so John, this is where you got to be an advocate and get out there and post to help others and to help yourself. So one of the places I want you to go is the Center for Auto Safety, which is a shadow consumer group that kind of watches out for what the automakers aren't doing that they should, and that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration should be doing that it's not. And so the website is autosafety.org, and you'll see what other people are saying about the Ford Escape. you'll be able to add your complaint to it, and you'll help each other, and you'll see how other people are getting it resolved. Now, let me tell you what happens with the automakers. There are things that are referred to in the industry as secret recalls. They're not actually an official recall, but it's where people get an accommodation from an automaker by being persistent. You want to meet with the factory zone rep for Ford. You want the help of the service manager at your Ford location and see if he or she will help you get that face-to-face with the factory zone manager. You document how many people are complaining about this, and there will be problems from time to time in a manufacturer's paint shop that lead to this kind of thing, and they hope that most people just go away quietly. You don't be one of those people.
I also saw at least one person post about this on X, and Ford responded to them asking for them to reach out privately. So maybe that's another method as well.
Well, I mean, complaining on social media is very common now. It does not work as well as it used to because people do it so much. But absolutely, if you are active on social media, you want to post. And the unfortunate thing is this is a Darwinian thing, that the people who are the most informed and most assertive of their rights get help, and other people, when they're told no, just, okay, go away. Don't be one of those people. Be the assertive type that gets the accommodation you need for the bad paint job on your Ford Escape.
Ann in Wisconsin says, my husband, 65, has just retired. I'm 54 and still working full-time. We're in good financial shape with a variety of investments, IRAs, his pension, etc. The issue, I recently came into a not huge inheritance, which I placed in a money market account to create our first and only dedicated emergency fund. My husband keeps asking to use those funds for our expenses rather than going to his retirement accounts. I think he needs to accept that he is retired and should be drawing from these accounts, and he disagrees. Can you please share your perspective? For what it's worth, he is delaying Social Security payments until age 70, at which time either my patience or this inheritance would be exhausted.
So you got less than 5 years you got to get through till he hits age 70 and he gets that Social Security check. So I think it's realistic to sit down and do a full accounting of all the assets you have. Having that rainy day account where you just leave the money sitting, today you're earning more interest than you would have in the past. That's a good idea. It's the right idea. The question comes for you to replace the income that he was making in the job, now retired. What is the smartest place to do it? That's a reactive thing for him just to say, oh, we got this inheritance. I'd like to take some of that and do this with it and that with it and the other with it. And your instinct is right. That emergency account is there for a reason, that rainy day account. So if he's wanting to draw money and draw it from you and leave everything else alone, because an inheritance, that's your money you brought into the marriage, you need to sit down and go through everything and see what it actually is taking you to live the life that you both need to live, where you're not at a lower lifestyle in his retirement. So the answer is to look at the overall picture. The answer is not to say, okay, I'll let him draw money from this rainy day account. No, that rainy day account is there for a purpose, a reason. The inheritance gives you an opportunity to honor the person who you loved, who left this money for you, and honor it and use it in a way that's smart, which is in the rainy day account.
Brad in Kansas says, regarding all the data breaches occurring lately, I find it's useful to use different virtual card numbers for those automatic monthly payments. That way, when a company gets hacked, the Roku you recently mentioned, for example, you only have to change the virtual number with that one company and not all the others. It saves a lot of time and frustration when you have many merchants charging to the same card. You can also set a daily spending limit for each number to reflect the expected monthly charge. For all the other online purchases, the virtual number I use has a $1 daily limit that I edit prior to the purchase. Then I set it back to $1 after the transaction hits the card.
So Brad,
That's sophisticated.
Brad, I am really impressed with you. I mean, this is really well designed, well thought out, and you are completely correct that when you are doing these automatic monthly payments to various organizations, you have set up to use the virtual credit card number option, which I remember when this first came out, it was Bank of America that came up with the idea. And at the time I praised them to the end of the earth, how brilliant it was. And they had no uptake on it from their customers. They didn't use it. And so they did away with it. And then it has roared back as the amount of credit card hacking has grown so exponentially. And if you have it available to you with any, and I think Bank of America offers it again too, if you have the option with your credit cards to use the virtual numbers, use virtual numbers. I use them routinely when I'm shopping online, where I use the virtual numbers, so if the place I'm paying gets hacked, I don't have to worry that now I have to have a whole new card number, because the number they would capture was a one-time use only number that is useful to the merchant and useless to the crook. So your advice is excellent. And thank you for being a part of Team Clark, sharing your method. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, a great weekend ahead of yourself. Remember what we're about, that you learn ways to save more, spend less, and don't let anyone ever rip you off. See you Monday.